Ready to roll.
Hello, Phantasma Soldiers. They call me the Doctor. I'm the host with the Ghost. I'm here with Eben Matthews, co-founder of the Macroverse. Very, very cool Web3 entertainment project. Eben, thank you for coming to the show today. Appreciate your
Absolutely.
time. So, as you know, as we talked a little bit before the thing, Phantasma is entertainment focused L1 blockchain with amazing super-powered smart NFTs. And we're out there just talking to innovative and amazing projects in the Web3 space that kind of fit the criteria. And I ran across yours the other day on a Twitter space and wanted to bring you on just to talk a little more about it and let the community know what's up.
Awesome. Happy to be here and talk about it.
Thank you. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, your experience and background, and leading up into Web3, if you can.
Absolutely. I like to think of this as the secret origin story because it all
Ooh,
ties
yeah.
together. So I'm lifelong comics fan, total, geek growing up. I've also been drawing since I was 2 years old. So my initial plan was to draw comics, and I went to art school and came out of art school. And instead of drawing comics, started a branding and media agency with some of my professors. And so had that for about a decade. For anyone that is old enough to remember when Flash was taking over the web, that was our sweet spot. So lots of kind of high-end interactive web stuff at that time. And then that led to all kinds of interesting creative projects. I was, making animation with a Korean partner. We were doing children's books for Target. Ended up doing some early pioneering around kind of interactive storytelling on the internet as well. And then my co-founder at Macroverse one of my two co-founders has been my creative partner for the last 20 years as well. And so when we met, he was coming up in traditional film and television. We became friends, and maybe over a couple drinks one night, we kind of had this simultaneous realization that was like, we're just going to be making stuff for other people for the rest of our lives.
Right.
And so we wanted to flip to the other side of that equation. If you remember the feeling of kind of post 90s indie cinema, the answer to that was write a screenplay, become a famous director.
Right.
And so we set about doing that. We wrote a screenplay. We were lucky enough to get that first screenplay option. So that landed us at CAA, which is one of the big talent agencies. Did a ton of pitching. We had a TV pilot, which got very close to moving forward. It didn't. And then we kind of found our way into the video game world. And so we spent the next decade writing, directing, and producing game content.
Wow.
And that is where we met our third co-founder at Macroverse. So the first project we did in gaming was with this guy named Ricky Ricavina. Ricky started the mobile gaming division at Disney. He launched Spyro the Dragon and Crash Bandicoot in the early days of the PS1 and PS2. Yeah. And then has spent the last 20 years in the mobile gaming world. And so, we've kind of all worked together in various ways over the past 20 years. And then the final piece of the puzzle that brings us to Macroverse is I had the chance to put together a graphic novel for a movie called The Boondock Saints.
Wow.
And, Boondock Saints kind of cult classic.
Sure, yeah.
Film. Pre-Walking Dead Norman Reedus and Sean Patrick Flannery as the stars there. So I got to know the director of the movie. We put together this graphic novel series. Again, lifelong comics fan. My whole career has basically been like, hey, do you guys do X? And me saying yes, and then figuring it out.
Yeah.
And so that brought me back into the traditional comics world, finding a publisher, dealing with distribution, working out a deal with Barnes and Noble, all the comic conventions, like, the whole 9 yards. And we came out of that experience going, this was great. This is the perfect way for us to build, more intellectual property, tell these stories that we want to tell, not have to try to sell them through the traditional Hollywood system. Obviously, comics and Hollywood and entertainment have just become more and more and more intertwined. And so we knew we wanted to do that, but the experience in traditional publishing, I came out of that going like, this was amazing, and the comics industry is completely broken.
Right.
And so we wanted to do it a different way because of our combined backgrounds, and especially with the gaming component, we felt like there's a digitally native format for comics that hasn't been invented yet. And so that was kind of like, if we can figure out what that is, plus a business model that supports creators in a way that traditional comics publishing doesn't. If we can solve those two problems, like, we've got something.
Yeah.
So we spent a couple of years continuing to do all the other stuff we were doing, like prototyping in the background, and finally felt like we solved those two problems. So we raised a little seed financing. We launched a mobile app, which is live on iOS and Android right now.
Cool.
We brought about 100 creators on board, and at this point have launched about 50 different titles through the mobile app. And then the final thing that brings us to Macroverse today is that when NFTs and Web3 started to go crazy, you know, in the Beeple sale and the apes minting and like the real early days of all that, we found ourselves in the pandemic, in Clubhouse, in those early rooms, kind of being, you know, on the ground as all that stuff was happening. And we realized two things. One is there were things we wanted to do in the app and in the platform that we didn't know how we were going to do. And we realized that blockchain was going to be the answer to that. And then the other light bulb was, you know, comics and collectability like are also kind of hand in glove, and there's never been a way to do that digitally. And so that was the missing piece. So all those things kind of coalesced. And now we've spent the last year kind of rebuilding our entire platform. And we're about a month away now from launching the first collection of truly collectible digital comics. And then over the next year, you'll see this platform grow into something that goes from original content to partner content to open for all creators.
Wow.
So that's where we came from, and that's where we're headed.
That's awesome. So you've got a really well-rounded out and experienced in multiple avenues of entertainment team. It's amazing that you've got so many creators already on board with the app. And I agree, you know, one of the ways that I tried to, when I was explaining NFTs and like what the deal was to my wife, you know, personally, even though she understands and, you know, she's with me on the whole blockchain thing, but she's like, what's the appeal? And I was like, well, look at this, you know, we've had this collectibles culture that we've been building, especially over, I mean, of course you have your old baseball cards and stuff like that, but you know, within comics, but I was like, go look at your Pokemon cards in the store, go look at even like you go to Sonic. I took my kid to Sonic and got her a kid's meal, right? And it had like Sonic themed toys, and one of them was the golden coney foot-long chili dog, you know, that was like the rare one, right? And we got that. So we got she's like, shows me all the time, she's like, golden hot dog, but you know, it's like, so we're putting this rarity and this collectability into everything, right? And what better, I mean when you think of like collecting anything, like the first thing that pops in my head is always comics, but I'm a comics guy too. Okay. Yeah. What's your favorite title, like comic title?
Oh man, I mean, it's hard for me to pick a favorite, but I mean, you know, obviously, like I'm of the generation where like image actually really mattered to me.
Yeah,
like,
man, the Max
was fantastic. But even the stuff that now, like as a creator and storyteller, I don't think was necessarily the best, you know, quality storytelling. Yeah. But I think what Image did is it really showed that there was a path for independent creators to make real, meaningful content on their own and to become very successful doing it.
Yeah. I mean, McFarlane and Jim Lee, right? They struck out and they said, we're sick of this and we want to do this our way. But you know, they were fortunate to have already had the power, the power and the run and the clout. But this is a great parallel to what's going on today. And you talked about Flash animation too. By the way, one of my other favorite runs is the McFarlane Spider-Man run. You know,
amazing.
Just with that first cover, that #1 cover, man, it was so dynamic and so amazing. You just like, I got chills thinking about it right now.
I'll go deep cuts, which I think is also the most influential comics artist of the last 20 years, which is the original Long Shot series, Art Adams' first professional work, who has influenced just about everybody.
Yeah. I was also a big fan of Valiant comics. I love Solar, Man of the Atom, and Exo Manowar, which was also a great title. Look, we could go on for this forever, but you talked about Flash animation too, and I think that's one of these other technologies that came out that kind of paved the way for what we're doing now, right? I mean, I cannot even count how many ridiculously stupid Flash animations. Of course, in some of the 55, you know, you've got some classics out there, you know, and that. But I love all these things kind of pave the way for where we're at now, where there's really this possibility to create your content to own it, right? And to publish it and retain your IP. That's really part of what it's all about, right? Is creator IP. I mean, can we talk about that a little bit, and maybe
Yeah.
why that's important and why it's so difficult, especially within the comics community, or being a comics artist, or a publisher or creator?
Well, I think that the problem in the comics industry, and this is kind of where we started with starting this company, is that there are basically there are a few different things to kind of understand about the comics industry. So one is everyone kind of thinks of comics as Marvel and DC.
Right.
And of course, they've got kind of the biggest media imprint beyond the print comics. So much so that it's debatable whether or not the print side of the business even really matters in particular
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah.
And then you've got your kind of second tier of notable publishers, and from the creator perspective, I won't name names, but you got this kind of second tier of publishers where mostly, if you're lucky enough to do a project with them, you're giving up, generally 50% of the IP to them, the intellectual property. And then you've got Image, which still, created this revolution in the 90s. And there would be no Walking Dead were it not for the Image model.
Right.
And the Image model kind of flips it on its head a little bit, where you do retain all of your intellectual property, but there's no financial support from Image for creating that book. So
Right.
it's a little you kind of have to pick your trade-off. Either like I don't need anything up front, but I get to keep more on the back end, or I have to give up something up front because I need support to make these projects. And so, some of that is understandable, but the economics of these things just don't really make sense for the creators in success. And so, we see similar problems in film and television and kind of across the entertainment landscape. But I think what's so exciting about Web3 and what we're trying to build right now is that in success, any of these things that become franchises in any sense of the word will be incredibly meaningful to the creators. The creators, and then by extension, the community that supports those creators really does get to reap the lion's share of the benefit from the success of these things. And so that's the piece that really has never been possible before. Some of the creators that we're working with have been very successful on Kickstarter, for example. So they've been able to have these, thriving independent careers by connecting directly with an audience. Like the whole creator economy, has become something that really means a lot to a lot of creators. It's still a small percentage of the total number of creators, but it is now a new vehicle that people have been able to utilize. And now with the tools that we're building, with the ethos that is a big part of what I've fallen so in love with in this space, the ability to directly connect like this thing that I think is cool, that you also think is cool as a fan. And if this is successful, we get to reap rewards together.
Right.
That's something that's really never been possible before. Certainly never been implemented before. And so that's a big part of, how we're building our platform and how we're kind of, bringing people into this, is like giving the fans a way to participate in these universes in a way that's meaningful. So, as one example, we have a project called Bushido's based on an existing NFT collection that, minted out early last year. We were initially brought in to help them develop this into a story and build this kind of comic series around it. Now we've kind of fully partnered with them. So we kind of treat it as original content, inside of our platform as well. But by doing that, we have now these kind of two paths, and we've done this with a bunch of projects now, where it's like there's the core story. You can kind of think of it as your Star Wars, canonical story, which, by the way, was all developed with the community. So, this idea of being able to utilize the hive mind to help, kind of create something bigger and better than you could necessarily by yourself, or to be able to bring new ideas that you wouldn't have based on your own experience, into these storylines. But then we also let anyone bring their characters, and we think of these, character collections, as I call them, as opposed to PFPs in this context, and like as composable layers of storytelling. So these are, elements, characters that live in these universes. You can bring them to us. We will help you tell stories with them.
Yeah.
Let the community participate in shaping those stories. A certain segment of them get, greenlit into production, and you actually get to see those characters turned into now canonical pieces of this universe created as comics. And then, essentially the opportunity, and I will shut up momentarily.
No. I'm getting excited listening to you. Like, I'm like, yes. It's so cool.
I love to think of it as like, when I was at ComicCon when I was 14 years old, hanging out by the Marvel booth, if someone had said to me, you can have a character in the Marvel universe and pitch us stories all day long. And if any of them are good enough, we'll help you develop them, turn them into comics, and you get to make money from that. Like that would have been my dream come true.
Absolutely. I mean, and
And so like
for
that's what we can
anybody,
let people do.
yeah. For
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of many people where that wouldn't be something amazing. And that is the beauty about what we're doing here in this space. That's why I fully believe in it so much, because it's empowering people who may have great ideas, who may sit there and they might have a sketchbook full of just fantastical, amazing art. But they might live like I live in the boondocks, man. I mean, not quite the boondocks, but close enough to where I can claim it, right? When I was in high school, there wasn't a lot going on, you know. And my best buddy, he was, I mean, just a fantastic comics artist, but you know, he never had a place to shop it or ship it.
Yeah.
And you know, and now I'm not even sure what he does now, but if to give people this chance and this opportunity through Web3, through community, through things like voting and DAOs and funding and stuff like that, it's amazing. Because look, I mean, we've all been to ComicCons and seen people out there with their little ash cans in their booths, and I wonder how many. Ash can, for those who don't know, is like a one shot. It's almost like a pilot pitch for a script, right? You know, it's like a small black and white, generally, you know, one shot kind of comic that you push out to the publishers. And seeing these guys out there trying to push their wares, stuff like that, and just to be able to like put that online and have a built-in community to say, man, this is awesome. And interoperability, being able to bring your own characters in is cool. Look at some of the greatest, some great video games, even now, like PUBG and one of the big MOBAs. You know, those all started as mods, right? Those are community mods that they picked up and said, this is the same. To me, this is the same kind of thing. Like, hey, you got a cool character. Boom. I know Virtue Animation and Basement Gang, they're doing kind of some stuff like that, where you know your PFP or your character is going to be part of that IP, part of that franchise. Really great stuff. So I want to go ahead and shift gears here really quick, or not shift gears, but I want to be able to show off the website a little bit. So let me bust a screen share up here real fast and do all the fancy button pushing. I need a button pusher on the side because so it's a little messy, but. And this is the wrong screen. I apologize. I think
it's a good one.
It's a good one. Just a second here. Let me fix that. I'll edit that out.
So I mean, I'll just talk while you're getting to the right places. So Darkland is one of the launch titles that we'll be launching in about a month. Created by Evan Shapiro, who is a award-winning, Peabody-winning producer of television, film, and narrative podcasts as well. And this is essentially Game of Thrones meets Veep in hell.
Oh, okay. Well, that's that's quite the combo.
Quite the combo. It's this dark black comedy. If you like any of those things, it's absolutely fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the art. And then I see some of these worlds. So this is Bushido's that you were talking about, which before the call I told you how much I love it. Because I see so many elements that I appreciate. One, samurais. Two, zombies. Three, and we got this guy back here. He's sneaking up on you because he definitely is some sort of cyborg. So that checks all my nerdy boxes right at once. It's just like perfect. This is the perfect storm. So this is really cool. I love that you picked this up. You know, and I have to be honest, and not like I said, not to talk bad on other projects, but I've seen several comic projects or comic related projects that maybe didn't quite take off, but had really great idea. And I like the fact that you were able to kind of come with these guys and kind of pick them up and help them build their IP out and bring them under your wheelhouse. And I think that's really cool. This guy looks like he's having a real bad day here.
That's little flavor of being in hell.
Right. Well, obviously. Oh, now this looks really neat. I don't want to scroll through all these, but if you know a little tidbit about these,
I'll give you the quick elevator pitch because these are the launch titles. So cool. Hex 11 as basically Harry Potter meets Blade Runner.
Nice.
So imagine that magic was a technology that you could download and utilize. It's kind of the basic core concept, but it's incredibly amazing world and story that the creators have told. And notably, which I think is notable in the comics industry in particular, is an all-female creative team behind Hex 11. So it's a not only an incredible world and incredible artwork by Lisa K. Weber, but the lens for it is a little bit unique as well, which I love.
Yeah, no, this is beautiful. The artwork is fantastic, and that sounds like something I would definitely love to
It's
read.
it's special. It's really
Yeah,
wonderful.
sounds
Dead
really cool.
Town is actually the pilot TV series that got killed by The Walking Dead. So we've brought it back now as one
Oh,
of our
really? Awesome.
shows.
So it lives again, huh?
It lives again,
Sweet.
and Dead Town is a mashup of things that I and Adam, my co-founder and writing partner, write this together, and artwork by Stephen Perkins, who's amazing. But the idea is that taking our kind of love of film noir and kind of post-apocalyptic, kind of zombie world,
Mm-hmm.
and giving it two things. One, a very human center. So it's really the story of this guy Chan, who lost his family in the initial outbreak, and then has to kind of find himself, essentially bring himself back to life over the course of the story. And so the reason that it's in black and white is not only a stylistic choice because we love film noir, but also uniquely is a representation of his emotional state in the story. And so you'll see that when we see flashbacks before the apocalypse, they're in this bright technicolor. So it's like his memories of the world
of
before
course.
the apocalypse
Yeah.
is all colorful, and then kind of the modern day is this horrific world. One other thing which I do like to point out is that if you like The Walking Dead, you'll certainly love Dead Town, but Dead Town is not about the zombies. It's actually this society that's grown up after the apocalypse. They've kind of learned to live with the fact that these undead things are around, and so a fresh outbreak is incredibly dangerous, but otherwise it's just kind of like this weird world that they have to live in and kind of find their way through.
Like look both ways when you go out to check the mailbox, kind of thing.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I mean, it can't be that normal, because we do have a 12-year-old with the classic nails in the baseball bat.
You gotta take precautions.
Right.
But,
No, that's awesome. I love it.
so that's Remind. If you're a Miyazaki fan,
Yeah.
you're gonna absolutely love Remind. So Jason Brubaker was a concept artist on the Kung Fu Panda movies, has been a very successful publisher and creator on Kickstarter. And this series is actually his first graphic novel after leaving DreamWorks, and we've repackaged it for this NFT format.
Nice.
So it's a kind of classic graphic novel that's got an existing fan base that we're bringing a kind of like a whole new experience to. Just incredible art, incredible story, and again, if you're at all a Miyazaki fan, you're gonna love Remind.
Excellent. That looks really nice too. Yeah, I'm pumped about everything now. I can't wait. Yeah, it's been a while since I've actually had a chance to pick up any kind of comics or graphic novel or anything. So this is really cool because not only do I not have the money to collect like I used to, physical paper, copies and things like that, but I also don't have the time with children. So being able to come in and do this digitally and be part of this, and just be a part of the community too, is really amazing. Now I know that you just I watched your YouTube videos, and I will link them down, but I don't know if it's going to load or not. But you just did the this big virtual ComicCon, right? And yeah, you sat through a lot of interviews there, man. You're like on every video for a weekend.
We created 18 hours of video content over the past weekend, but it was amazing. I mean, look. I mean, a big part of what I feel like we're here to do, and what this event was to do, is we're all very excited about the ethos of the space. We're excited about the opportunities for creators, the potential to monetize. All those things, of course, are important. But honestly, like, I've been in this space, I mean, it seems like forever, but it's, been like a year and a half.
Right.
But I've been very active and involved in it because I just fell in love with it from day one, and, learning. And I'm just, especially in this bear market, I'm a little tired of all the conversations being about when is the market going to turn, when do the floor prices go up. Like, of course we care about all those things, but we're building entertainment franchises. So let's turn the spotlight a little bit onto, like, what are these stories? Who are these characters? Why do we care? Why do we become fans of things?
Yeah.
So the whole point of this event was not to make that about us, but to look at the rest of the space and say, what are the projects out there? Who are the people out there that have a kind of similar ethos? And let's talk about the things they don't get to talk about a lot. So, we talked to Nuclear Nerds, for example, about, like, we know this is a cool project, but what's the world? What's the universe? Who are these characters? What
Yeah.
is the story that's being
Yeah.
told? And so we got to do that with a bunch of different projects, and also put some panel discussions together. And it's a great event. So there's a whole playlist that's up on YouTube and everywhere, and we'll ultimately get it all compiled onto the website as well. But
Awesome. I love
incredible.
that. I love that. Obviously, when you're getting people who aren't native to this space into it, education is always a key. And I love that you've done this with a really nice, great piece of sequential art here. And it
Yeah.
reminds me of the actual. There's like the famous book for drawing sequential art. Who's the author? Is it
Scott McCloud.
Scott McCloud, yeah, sequential art.
Yeah.
And this reminds me a lot of that,
Yeah.
But this is really cool. I like that you just do a very simple breakdown, and you get a free NFT edition of it if you scan the QR code there.
Yeah,
Really
absolutely.
cool. Education is always an important component, especially when we're kind of like mixing worlds and bringing people who this is a complicated space, right? But it doesn't have to be. And I love any project that has any kind of education element to it, just to help kind of traverse that gap.
Yeah, but actually, you're making me realize we've been so focused on building the platform. We're actually up to episode 4 of ABCs of NFTs. So you can see the other episodes on the Discord. You can still get a hold of them, but I need to update the website.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, no problem. Glad I can be of help. Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So we're kind of nearing the 30-minute mark. So I just want to say, is there anything else that you'd really like to talk about as far as ethos or philosophy in the scene, or just like words of wisdom to people who are interested in this whole entertainment 3 kind of thing, what they can do, what goes on in your Discord, what kind of cool stuff do you guys get going on in there with your community?
I mean, the Discord is awesome. We've got a very active, very wonderful core community. One of the things that we do and we have done, and we'll come back around to, is we do sessions of kind of what we call storytelling 101. So we think everyone has a story to tell. We think these characters are meant to inspire stories within these universes, within these worlds. And so the combination of kind of a playground to build things inside of, and the stories that we want to tell inside of those playgrounds, but also the kind of wide open space for other people to create their own things inside of those playgrounds. So a lot of what we do on the Discord is kind of organized around that, or oriented around that, which is, we'll come in and take a topic, and we initially have kind of a 6-week curriculum that we go through weekly, which is kind of just fundamentals of storytelling. So if you're at all interested in how to tell your own story, create your own story around your characters, there's also a more passive thing that we just introduced recently. So if you're not sure that you're someone that really wants to tell the stories, but maybe you've got some characters that you think other people might want to tell stories with, you can kind of bring those in and put them up for other people to play with. So it's like you can either bring your own toys, or and play with those toys, or you can bring your toys and let other people play with those toys, and then
so cool.
ultimately reap the rewards collectively. So
I love that. I love that how I know, like with Basement Gang, they have mentorships, and I love in this entertainment kind of community to see this happening, because I see it happening more and more and more and more. These nice collaborative efforts, not only collaborative efforts, but like where the pros, or the people who've been got the skin of the game for a while, sit there and like actually truly really help the community, like discover their talents, hone their skills, talk about their art or their craft in whatever way. And I think that's it's so cool to kind of be able to share that one-on-one.
Well, we also, I think that our perspective is that, again, I kind of put it in the context of thinking about like, what are the composable layers of storytelling? There's a lot of kind of conversation around composability. Is one of the things that's exciting about, blockchain in general, is that these can be building blocks. You think of crypto as money Legos, you think of NFTs as experience Legos. Like, these things can kind of be built on top of. And so we do a lot of thinking about, both on the tech side with what we're building, but also kind of the way we work in the community, that these should be things that all play together. And so if you have these kind of comics and worlds that we're building as the kind of the story and the playground to be inside of, the reason to have characters in that world is to own a piece of your kind of corner of that universe, let's say. And so both with Bushido's and Deadtown, these are existing now collections of characters, so you can have NFTs in these worlds of these characters. bring them into Discord, create stories inside of this framework. And then we go through a process in the community where a certain number of those actually do get greenlit into production. They get recognized as canonical, and you get to see that become its own comic, within the framework of the universe.
I love it.
You'll see next year, the first 2 anthology series will launch, which is this anthology from Bushido's, anthology from Deadtown, and there'll be more to come after that. These are stories that were directly created by community members that feature their NFTs as the lead characters, and that set the stage very intentionally to go on and have bigger adventures if they so choose to do that. So it's
cool.
It's a cool way to be able to upgrade these NFTs and potentially make them more meaningful over time.
So cool, man. Eben, I absolutely love it. Well, look, I want to thank you for spending the time with us today and talking to the Phantasma community. I am super psyched about Macroverse, and I think that after watching this interview that everyone else is going to be too. Of course, Phantasma stands ready to be part of the Entertainment 3 process. We're always here for you if you'd like to talk further. And I'm sure we'll get plenty of soldiers joining the Discord. I know I am. And I'm ready to get some crazy NFT character based on Doc put into the comic book world to be awesome.
Indeed,
so cool.
Zombies are minting now from Deadtown. It's a create your own character experience.
Yes.
So it's more like a video game where you customize your character and then mint it.
Can I be like the guy who's like been out in the rough for too long and just a little bit like.
Believe me, you certainly can.
Yeah. But I make all the cool bombs and stuff. I want to make like all the homemade bombs, paper clips, and nails.
We've got an option where you're missing an arm, so you can decide to go that route if you want.
Are there eye patches now? Are there eye patches?
There are eye patches.
All right, thank goodness for that. I'm hoping. Yeah, I'm hoping by the time I'm like 80, I have a real one. But for now, I will settle for one in the NFT world. Well, Eben, thanks again so much for joining us. And everybody, all the relevant links will be down below. Check out the Macroverse. It's super, super cool. And thanks again for being on.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.